Alright guys, so in this video, I'll be going over what exactly is OTE or retracement levels. Now, if you're familiar with the term retracement, then you know what OTE is. It's basically, OTE is just a term that ICT uses instead of retracement levels. Now, what does OTE stand for? It stands for optimal trade entry. And basically, on our retracement levels, we have 0.618 to 0.79 levels, and when price reaches between these levels, that is a great optimal trade entry, meaning that is a great level to look for buys if we're bullish and sells if we're bearish, and we will go more into it, and I will show you guys live examples, so don't worry about that. Now, one thing you need to understand is that we do need to correlate price. Ideally, if we can correlate price with OTE, that would be a beautiful, more accurate trade idea. Whereas if we don't correlate price with it, then it'll be a little more riskier to take that trade idea. But the best time to find OTE or retracement levels are in New York session. So in New York session can be 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Those are the time frames that I prefer finding OTE in. Sometimes it might be a couple of hours before 8 a.m. It might be 6 a.m., 7 a.m. But as long as we have those confluences besides the retracement level, then we can execute during these time frames as well. It doesn't have to be specifically just in between these times, although that would be ideal. So just to clarify it again, OTE is best found in New York session. This will be ideal. However, there are times where we might see it during London session if there are other confluences. So now let's look at some live examples. Alright, so I want to talk about OTE on the higher time frame. On the higher time frame, we just use OTE for analysis. We don't use it as an entry level. That's on the lower time frame. On the higher time frame, we're trying to figure out what exactly is price trying to do. So we can pull out our retracement levels or OTE levels. As you can see here, we have a high here. Mark out our highs, mark out the lows. Then we have this high with this low, and price came to our OTE levels or retracement levels, whichever you want to call it, between 0.618 and 0.79. And then if you can see here, if you want to add an extra confluence, we do have this daily order block in here. Now, if we keep continuing, we got this high, this low, price expands to the downside, comes back, retraces 0.618 level. We got again, price expands, retraces 0.618 level. It's basically, as you can see how price moves, is price expands, retraces, price expands, retraces. The retracement, it usually retraces to OTE levels between 0.618 to 0.79. Now, just to clarify, guys, just because price came to an OTE level doesn't mean that's the only confluence we need to get in the trade. We need a bunch of more confluences. I'm just showing you guys how to analyze the charts on a higher time frame using OTE, using that one simple concept. Now, same scenario here. We came to our 0.618 area. We mark out this high, this low, 0.705 area, and then finally price broke structure and it went to the upside. So now I want to talk about OTE on an execution level, on a lower time frame level. Alright, so I want to show you how do we execute OTE on the lower time frame. So like I mentioned previously, we look for OTE or retracement ideally between 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern time. That's where OTE, optimal trade entry, is best found. So currently, as we can see, we are bearish on DXY. We can see how price grabbed this high, came to the downside. We can see this order block filling in this fair value gap. Price came up, created an order block. On top of that, if we place the high here and the low right here and the low right here, we can take out our retracement levels, and we can see that this was at our OTE, our optimal trade entry level, 0.705 between these areas. On top of that, we do have an order block. So that would have been a very nice sell for clean 1 to 2 stop loss above the high. 1 to 2, and we would have hit TP. So this is an example of how we execute OTE. During London session, it's prime time for liquidity grabs. We know that once price expands during London session, we can expect a retracement by New York session, and at that retracement or at that OTE level is where we can sell off. And this is a very clean example. So now let's look at another example. So as we can see on EU, we can see this 1 hour order block. We can see this low, this high, and what price basically did was during New York session, New York open, 8 a.m., what we had was we had an OTE. We had price come down to our level, to our in between 0.618 and in between 0.79, and price came to our OTE level. It came to our order block as well. Like I mentioned previously, we don't just enter off one confluence. We need a bunch of different confluences in order to enter a trade. Just one confluence isn't enough. But as of right now, this is what we can see. And what did price do? Price, if we were to place that 1 or 2, if we were to analyze this market right now as an OTE and enter New York session open, we would have hit TP. So as we can see, it was a clean 1 to 2 risk to reward. Another way, just another example on how to use OTE. This concept is very, very simple. This concept is very, very, very simple. I don't think any of you guys should be confused, but if you are, you can always message me about it, or you can just look up on Google retracement levels. It's basically the same idea. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next.